Okay, Bruce, we're up and running.
All set, Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Brianna. So I'd like to call the February 18th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Rochester Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Brianna, if you could do the roll call, please.
Mr. Behringer,
Present.
Ms. Bressler,
Here.
Mr. Fisher is not here, Mr. Wassell,
Present.
and Chair Saris.
Present. Also note that present is the board secretary, Brianna Tetra. I've confirmed with the town's council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the governor's March 13th, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting via YouTube, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The secretary has completed a roll call of the board members, and there is a quorum present for this meeting. I've also confirmed with the secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting the notice on the town clerk bulletin board outside the door, posting legal notice in the Squamish Journal, and posting notice on the town's website. I've also confirmed that the newest board members, Jill Bressler and Michael Wassell, have taken the oath of office and can be seated as members of the board. So, thank you. So tonight's agenda, we just want to run through some board adjustments, introductions, just a discussion, familiarize yourselves with some of the meeting practices that we have. I'm not going to go through zoning codes and ordinances and things like that. I don't want to bias any viewpoints that you may have prior to you taking the classes. After that, I'll have plenty of time to bias your views, I guess. Then we'll just talk about other matters and adjourn. So, Bree, if you could pass me the screen and
You should be able
get
to.
going.
Are you still?
Yeah.
Oh, you still have the co-host permission, so you should
Oh, I
be.
do.
Yep.
Excellent.
I didn't take it away.
So, again, like I said, introductions, just the flow of how an appeal flows through the zoning process, some general guidelines, and then a couple of screenshots of an application, and then some additional resources that you guys might want to check out and the links to them as well. So I'll start with myself. Bruce Saris, I'm the new chair of the zoning board. I assumed the role in January of this year. Prior to that, I think I've been on the board about 4 years. Bill and I have been on about the same amount of time. I think it's been 4 years, right, Bill?
I think
Correct.
it's only been a couple, but I don't know.
Yeah. I've lived in town with my wife, Lene, for about 8 years. 2013, we moved up. I work for an airline. I'm very pleased that we're working remotely because I had a very long commute. So I've been able to cut that down to nothing. So I'm enjoying that. So Charlie is our most senior member. He's unable to join. I know Charlie's been on the board for quite a while. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a small engine repair business in town. I don't know how long he's lived in town, but I imagine it's been a while. I believe so. So, and I look forward to you guys being able to meet Charlie. So, Bill, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, gee, you're all heart. Yeah, I'm Bill Behringer. Lived in the area all my life. My parents have been here all their lives. Worked at school district over in New Paltz for a few years. Worked down at graveyard down here in Caronson a few years. Been around. Most everybody knows me. That's local. That's been around. And been here on the board, same as me and Bruce there, about the same amount of time. In fact, we started the same time, I guess. And other than that, just want to welcome you two new people and hope you enjoy it and hope it works out for you. Next, Jill.
Thank you. My name's Jill Bressler. I got my house, I think, in 2006. And then my husband and I moved up full time about 5 years ago. Let's see. I also work in the travel industry. I run design for a company that specializes in traveling with points and miles. And I wanted to join the board because I saw a lot of things changing in our town and was interested in, participating in how that went. So thank you. Thank you very much.
I think that's a common theme of why people join, Jill. I think, we see something and we can either sit and complain about the change or we can try and do something to influence it. So I think quite a few people join boards for just that reason. So. Michael?
Thanks, Bruce. Good to meet everyone. It's great to be here. Bill, I don't know if we crossed paths, but I grew up in New Paltz and went to school there. But after graduating college, I worked for a general contractor out of High Falls. So I got very familiar with the area, ended up buying property in the mid 90s and built a house in 2002. My wife and I got married on the property in 2010, and about 6 years ago, we made the move here permanently. We had been moving back and forth between an apartment in the city and living at the house, but we just hated going back to the city. And I was able to secure a position in Albany with the New York Attorney General's office. Professionally, I have about 20 years in law enforcement and regulatory work. I started in the city with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office after getting a master's in criminal justice and became a state criminal investigator. Most of that time spent investigating bank fraud, securities fraud, that type of thing. I'm with the Attorney General's office now, and I did take about a 12-year hiatus from government work, and I worked on Wall Street in a compliance role called anti-money laundering, which has become a specialty. Like Jill, I'm also very interested. I feel very connected to the area. I'm a former builder. I'm still sort of feel like I'm practical around a house, and I know some of the builders. I try to stay in touch with the industry. I see a lot of, subdivisions going in town, and I think it can be really good for the area, but I also think it has to be a thoughtful process. So I had seen a quote from Aaron in one of the local papers looking for help on the ZBA, and I signed up, and so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, we're pleased to have you, Michael. Thanks. And Bree, Brianna, you want to speak a bit about your background, your time on the board?
So I have been in this position, it's about 2.5 years, but I've worked for the town for almost 7 years. I didn't grow up around here. I grew up across the river in Pine Plains, and I moved here in about 2013. I think it was December of 2013. So, yeah, this is a very, very interesting job, and I learn a lot, especially from the boards. So I learn as much as you guys do, and it's really, really informative. So.
Thank you. And then Erin and Alan is our town board liaison. We couldn't have a better one. She spent a number of years on the ZBA. Bill and I both served with her before she was elected to the board, and she's a great resource for us and is very helpful in matters.
Bruce?
And then Mary Lou Christiana is our board attorney. She's also the planning board attorney and the town board attorney. We gave her the night off since there wasn't any appeals that we're going to consider today. You'll still get a chance to have your first vote and cast your first ballot before the end of the evening. But there's no appeals in front of us today. So.
Hey, Bruce, I see Charlie's trying to get on.
Is he in?
Connecting to audio, it says.
So I call this slide Our Friendly Appeal. Essentially, the steps that are in green are the steps that an applicant would take, and the steps in blue are the steps that boards or government takes. An applicant will apply for a building permit. The code enforcement officer would deny the permit, or the planning board might refer the applicant to us. This is what we had actually in the last month, was an applicant that was referred by the planning board. The applicant's advised that a variance is needed. And then when they make their appeal, after they're denied by the code enforcement officer, they have 60 days to submit an appeal to the board. They have to get it in with that time frame, otherwise we won't hear it. We strongly encourage that they take a pre-application meeting with us to work out any details of their application that they may have to revise, a plan or things that they haven't considered that we might bring to light. I don't want to dredge up past things, but there was an applicant that was on Queens Highway. They were building a garage. They were initially before the board because their side setback was in violation. They were, 5 or 10 feet closer to the property line than they needed to be. We spoke with them and they said, that's fine, we'll just move the building to the left a little bit. But in moving it to the left, they violated another code where the building was too close to the house. There had to be a distance between the accessory structure and the house in order to facilitate it. So it was good because they would have spent another month churning through if they hadn't come and seen us and just went that way. So that's why we encourage it. It gives them a little bit of an advantage, I guess. So they complete the application paperwork. The applicants are strongly encouraged to get it into Brianna 14 days before our meeting. This is to give all of us time to review the application, do our research, formulate the questions we want to ask, and be informed on whatever it is, the matter in front of us, right? So the completed apps are put on the agenda for us to review. The applicant will present their case to the board. We may ask for clarification or additional documentation. We do a SECRA determination on what type it is, a type 1 or a type 2. You and Michael will learn this in the training session that you get. So I don't want to go into too much detail about it. A positive, it's kind of tricky. A negative declaration is a good thing for the applicant. A positive declaration means they have to prepare more studies for an environmental impact, right? After we do that, we have to have a public hearing on the application. So it's always sort of a 2-meeting process for an applicant. And then we'll make a determination whether to grant or deny the variance after that. So pretty straightforward. We have 62 days from the close of the public hearing to make a determination. So let's go down a little bit. Okay, so just some general guidelines. Meetings are third Thursday. As you know, we start at 6. We have to have a quorum in order to continue, and that's 3 of the 5 board members. We can make up that 3 of the 5 if we include an alternate. We don't have an alternate on the board yet, but there are specific guidelines determined by the Town of Rochester Code on how we sit an alternate. It's not just sort of frivolous, I guess. There is a process behind it. If a regular member recuses themselves because of a conflict or potential conflict, or if a member would have an extensive leave of absence, or we need to establish that quorum. If we have 3 members, not 5, and there's just the alternate there, typically you don't add that alternate to make a 5th. Right? The protocol is also in the Town of Rochester Code for meetings for zoning, 140-67, that's the section. And of course, all meetings are open to the public, which brings us to the Open Meeting Act. Right? So wherever there's a quorum present, it's a public meeting. We don't have to take a vote, we don't have to be making a decision to have to be under the Open Meeting Act. And that's actually, tonight is a very good example of that. There's nothing in front of us, but it's an open meeting, right? Any place where we're going to have a decision or discussion, it's public. But it also doesn't, public meetings don't prohibit you from speaking to another board member, so long as you're not communicating in order to come to a decision or to a vote. You know, if you pass somebody in the supermarket, you don't have to run in the other direction to violate it, so that you don't violate. If you don't, if you're questioning it, ask Brianna, ask me. We'll give you the guidance that you need for that. The other piece is ex parte communications. Do not talk directly with applicants or their representatives outside the public meeting. That's just not done. If they try to contact you, just explain that, you know, the law prohibits you from doing so. It has to be at a public meeting or a hearing that you can discuss it with them. Otherwise, I think you're struck by lightning. I don't know, but it's fairly serious. Occasionally, we take site visits to the applicant's property. You should coordinate these site visits through the board secretary. Again, it's to respect the privacy of the applicants, but it's also so 3 of us don't show up at the applicant's property at the same time, and now it's considered a meeting or a quorum, and we violated the Open Meeting Act. So Brianna will help pace us through that so that we don't step on each other at a site. How we conduct meetings when a appeal is in front of us, I'll give a brief summary of the application. The applicant presents their appeal to us, right? We encourage refraining from asking them questions during their presentation. People are fairly nervous when they're doing it. And if you interrupt them and ask a question, you know, you kind of throw them off their game a little bit. So we let them get through that application. Then we can ask for clarifying questions or more details, more information, however we see. The blue section here is when it's a public meeting. This is where the public has an opportunity to voice their views, either in support, in opposition of an appeal, or to seek further information about an appeal. It's key that the public addresses the board, not the applicant. We don't want to have the public debating with the applicant or the public debating with the board for that matter. It's really intended for us to get their views and for them to seek further information, right? We haven't had, frankly, we haven't had a lot of public meetings where the public has spoken. I would say just a handful in the years that I've been on the board. So at the end of that public speaking, that's when the applicant responds to the issues raised by the public. The prior chairman, Cliff Mallory, was very good at reining people in to keep them focused on the issues at hand and not get too off track. Hopefully we'll be able to do the same there. So at the end of either the questioning or the public session, there's typically a motion either to continue the hearing because we want more information or we want more time for an applicant to come back with additional information, or we'll close the public meeting, and that starts that 62-day clock we talked about. Or if it's not a public meeting, we'll make a motion to hold the public meeting for the applicant. So that's why it's a 2-meeting session, the initial one and the public one, typically. Decisions, we'll make our decision at the close of the public hearing. We close the hearing, the board discusses the appeal, and then typically there's a motion for either granting or denying the appeal or postponing the decision. And you'll see what those decisions are based on after you go through the training class. You'll have a better understanding of where we base it. Every motion needs a second in order to be considered by the board. If there's not a second, the motion isn't considered. We don't bring it up. Once a motion is seconded, the board is able to amend the motion as they see fit, and then we take a vote on it, right? Again, decisions, you need 3 affirmative votes in order to pass. If it's a tie or not 3 votes, it's considered a denial, right? We do roll call votes on those motions, and we're going to rotate by seniority because this is all Zoom. We're not sitting around the table where we can just point to the next guy in the chair, you know. And then the board votes last, the board chair votes last. And again, don't discuss, your decision until after we've taken the vote, after the hearing's closed, and that just sort of guidelines. This is what a typical application looks like on the left when it comes in. You see, this is the date that it's denied by the code enforcement officer. They stamp it, and he has the date. This is the date the application is filed. So this is where that 60-day time frame comes in. You really can't consider the date that the applicant handwrites it. It's not official. The stamp is what counts, right? And then as you're going through the appeal, you'll be looking for things like the zoning district it's in. That will count, whether it's an R2, R5, in a hamlet, in an ag zone. The lot size is critical to it, and the tax map ID helps us in additional research that we're doing. And then typically the ordinance violation is noted in the bottom. This one is 140-14C, so that when you go to the code book, it's a good starting point when you're looking it up, right? And then typically the applicant will submit, a sketch of their lot or some additional documentation. I just wanted to show the sketch of the lot. You guys have access to the Google Drive where our documents are. I think Brianna gave it to you. I have a link in this document as well to some additional resources. At the end of this meeting, I'll send it to Brianna and she'll forward it on to you guys, so you have the links and can get at it. You can walk through a couple of the old appeals. It'll give you a feel for what kind of documentation gets submitted, and you'll see, how our decisions are documented and things like that. And then just some guidelines with the ZBA attorney. So Mary Lou and Brianna aren't community volunteers like us. They get paid, so we have to watch our budget tightly. So in order to contact the board attorney, you seek my approval to do so, right? Because we don't want the meter running. She's very nice, but she has to earn a living too. Brianna serves the board in a number of ways. She's the first point of contact for the public for us, right? So we're lucky she always has a smile on her face and she's able to do that well. She reviews the applicants, the applications, she makes sure they're complete, they're thorough, they're easy to read. She'll print them out, she'll order them for us. She publishes the legal notices to the newspapers, posts them on the town website. Also, the applications require notifying neighbors within 500 feet frequently. Sometimes you also have to notify the county. She takes care of all those mailings. She prepares the agendas, all the meeting minutes that we go through. The training opportunities, you've seen some of that she's emailed to us. She maintains our training records. We have a requirement every year for training. So she's the keeper of that. So whenever you take training, make sure you tell her, the training that you took, so she can book the appropriate hours so that we don't fall behind on that. She files our legal filings with the Town of Rochester Board and also with Ulster County. She does the correspondence to the town board, to the Ulster County boards. She maintains a great degree of confidentiality in all of this as well. So all I ask is that in your interactions with her, that you're considerate of all the time that she spends doing a lot of things for us, and that we use her wisely and not right. So these are the additional resources, and these are the links to the town code. You've probably seen that on the website. You guys might have clicked on that. The schedule of district regulations. This one's a little harder to find on the code ordinances. It's almost a cheat sheet for each of the zoning districts and what the permitted uses are and what the setback requirements are. It's a really nice document. It's really very succinct and gets you to it. So the comprehensive plan is also another document that we refer to. It's sort of the guideline for what the town would like to achieve. The Ulster County Parcel Viewer, it's nice because with that you're able to see the lots and who the neighbors that abut them are and what kind of considerations there are from the 500-foot perspective. There's also different layers on that that'll show you wetlands and protected species and things like that. So it's a good tool. The EAF mapper, they'll talk a little bit about that with Secret in the training class. The mapper has two forms, a long form and a short form. And again, there are some samples of that in the Google Drive, and some of the applicants have done both the short and long form in there. So I encourage you to look at that one. There's a lot of information in the mapper. Historical resources, wetlands, forest. I can't think of all the ones that are in there, but it's a state site that covers a lot of territory and from an environmental perspective. The caveat is the parcel viewer and the EAF form sometimes are incorrect, particularly the parcel viewer. The lot lines sometimes aren't as precise as they would need to be, and they overlap. So just a little, and sometimes they have people listed in the wrong district as well. So just a little caution when you use it. And then the Google Drive, where we have all our applications and documentation and things like that. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know if you have any questions. No. See, I'm so good. I got right through it. So with that, this is the point where you get to take your first vote. And usually I would turn this over to Charlie as the senior man, but Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you. You know which motion we're looking for?
Well, he happens to be here. I see he's here, but actually, I don't know what you're asking for, Bruce. You might want to, we're not going to adjourn the meeting yet, that's for sure.
Oh, we have the minutes. That's what I was asking for. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought you
I
were.
was going to make the motion to adjourn, but I forgot about the minutes. So,
Yeah, I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
all right. Is Charlie on? No. Okay, I'll second the motion.
First, go second. First. Oh, the January 21st, 2021 minute.
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only one left, right?
I know you guys yeah, we got them all set.
Good.
So for Jill and Michael,
Yep.
if you haven't familiarized yourself with the minutes, you're certainly welcome to abstain from this vote. And with Charlie out, we can bring up that motion again next month.
I don't know, his picture's there. Charlie's picture's there and he's there. Charlie, you there?
I don't see him on my screen.
He's on mine.
I see him, but I can't hear him.
Oh, there I see him. Now I see him.
Yeah.
Charlie, can you
Charlie?
raise your hand?
You probably can't hear him.
Charlie, can you raise your hand up so we can see you? You can take, huh?
I don't think he can hear us.
You can try typing in the chat, maybe.
Do you want me to do that, Bruce?
Yeah, why don't you try that?
Okay, hang on a second.
Yeah, now he's waving his hand. There you go. All right, Aaron, do you want to take a roll call vote on the minutes?
Aaron or Brianna?
Start with Charlie. Charlie, if you're yes, give us the thumbs up.
Charlie Fisher? Mr. Fisher? I wonder if he's like delayed, if it's like a delayed sound. Do you want me to go to Bill and then I can come back to Charlie? Okay. Mr. Behringer?
Aye.
Mr. Wassell?
Aye.
Miss Bressler?
Aye.
And Chair Saris?
Aye.
And Charlie Fisher. Mr. Fisher? Yes? Okay.
So the motion carries. Bill, now?
I make the motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that since you don't hear Charlie. So I don't think we need a roll for this, do we? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? No? All right then. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time. I'll send this email to Brianna and she'll send it out to you guys so you have a little bit more stuff to look at. So I appreciate it. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
as
next
well.
month, guys.
Yeah.
Got it.
Bye.